So here is the raw reality of making your first $1 million, coming from someone who made their first million at the age of 18 and tens of millions of dollars since then. Now, there are 5 raw truths that no one really talks about when it comes to building wealth, especially if you want to do it starting from zero. Now, the first raw truth is that 80% of success is timing. Now, most successful people won't admit that though. They're gonna tell you that the reason they succeeded was due to all of the hard work that they put in, the risks they took, and their discipline to show up and stay consistent day after day. Which, by the way, definitely plays a big part in their success for sure, but the point is, there is something else that they never address. Listen, I've been in the online game long enough to see the rise and fall of a ton of different businesses and a bunch of different business models. And I've even experimented and failed, by the way, I'll put my hands up and say that, with multiple of them myself. And throughout this journey, I have noticed that the people who succeed are the ones who took not many, but a few right decisions, which outweigh all of the wrong decisions that they've ever taken. And what I realized, and it actually took me a few years to come to this realization, is that all of these big life decisions had one underlying common factor: timing. Let's be honest, everyone knows that getting into the right industry at the right time can make you rich. This was true with real estate, with the stock market, with crypto, and it's even more true today with the internet and online businesses. Now, here's the thing. Is hard work required? Yes, no question about that. Now, is hard work the deciding factor that's going to decide whether you're going to be successful or not? Not at all, because if that was the case, every hardworking individual would be a millionaire. And obviously, you can look around and see that that's not the case. The truth is that 80% of success is being at the right place at the right time to catch an opportunity that will inevitably lead you to success, as long as you put in the hard work. And that is how success works. Now, most people will get discouraged hearing that because they think that timing is the same as luck, and thus they can't control it, which is not true at all. And I'll explain why in just a second. And what you need to understand is this: the fact that timing is the decisive factor in your success is actually a great thing, because it means that if you've been working hard for a while now and you feel frustrated that you haven't yet gotten the results that you aspire to get, I have news for you. It's not your fault, because you have been doing what's required, the hard work. You are just missing one piece of the equation: timing. So if you've been putting a lot of pressure on yourself lately and feeling frustrated because you're struggling and it just feels like everyone else is succeeding but you, I want to say just take a deep breath, because I'm about to reveal all of these raw truths that no one else can really talk about, because I've been in the online business space for a decade now. So that way you can finally understand why you're stuck and how you can break free. So now let's get to the $1 million question. How do you get to a position where you find yourself at the right place at the right time to catch that once in a lifetime opportunity that will inevitably lead you to success? How do you control timing? Well, what most people never realize is that there are actually 2 types of timing. The first one is market timing. Now, market timing relates to the overall economic environment you're in. It's external to you, has nothing to do with you. And there's always those new hot opportunities popping out there, and if you manage to catch one of them before everyone else, it becomes way easier to be successful. And that's a fact. And that, my friend, is what market timing is. But that's not the only type of timing. We also have something that I call career timing. And here is where 99% of people fail with their decisions. Realistically, if you're watching this video, you already know that we are in the best time to start an online business. You wouldn't be watching this video otherwise. That is market timing. But the thing is, there are stages in your career, and you have to consider where in the career spectrum you currently are. Let me explain. If you're currently making less than $1,000 a month, and you're trying to start a $10 million a year business, your odds of succeeding are slim to none, because you probably lack the capital to start it, you lack the experience to run it, and you lack the team to build it. You are at a disadvantage. So that business does not match your career timing. On the other hand, if you're already at 10 million and you start a $100,000 a year business, the business in of itself will most likely succeed because you have more than enough experience and capital needed to get it to succeed. However, it will most likely never even get to the scale that you want, because once again, that business does not match your career timing. The point is, and I see so many people make this mistake online, it's so frustrating for me to watch people not understand this concept. But the business you should start to get to $10 million is not the same business to get to $1 million, and that's not the same business to make your first $100,000 100,000, which is also not the same business to make your first 10,000, and so on. And what I realized through my journey is those huge once in a lifetime decisions that completely change the trajectory of your life. The ones where you look back and you just feel like all of the stars were perfectly aligned for you. Just like it was for me when I started my marketing agency back when I was 16, or when I started my first software company a few years later on from there. Those decisions only happen when market timing meets career timing. And when you understand this concept and you apply it, one simple right decision will outweigh all of the wrong decisions you've ever taken. Which means you don't have to stress on taking wrong decisions because they simply don't matter in the long run. All the wrong decisions you've ever taken in your life, they don't matter as long as you manage to match your career timing with market timing when it comes to choosing what business to start. That is the one decision you have to get right, and then everything else will fall into place. But if you get this one wrong, you'll be stuck in a cycle of facing failure after failure in everything you try. So if you're at $1,000, don't try to copy the business I'm starting or the business your favorite entrepreneur is starting, because that could be a $10 million or $100 million a year business, and it simply won't work for you. If you're at $1,000, your goal should be $10,000. If you're at $10,000, your goal should be $100,000. And if you're at zero and you've never made any money online before, and I'm saying this specifically to you because I know that 90% of people watching this haven't made any money online yet. Well, your goal should be make $1,000. Just $1,000. Not $10,000, not $100,000, not $1 million, just $1,000. I made my first $1,000 online in 2014. And once you get to $1,000, you can think about $10,000. And once you get to $10,000, you can start to think about $100,000, and so on and so forth. But do not try to skip steps, or you will fail. That is the one thing I can guarantee you. And if you don't know what the ideal business is to make your first $1,000, I'm gonna mention that very shortly in one of the upcoming Raw Truths. And by the way, before you try to guess, no, it's not an agency. I'm gonna tell you what it is in just a few minutes. But before that, we need to talk about Raw Truth number 2. And that is, don't follow your passion and stop setting goals. Instead, you need to do this. Now, before I get into this in just a second, I must warn you. I'm gonna first explain why you should not follow your passion, which is gonna take the next few minutes. And then I'm gonna walk you through a very interesting thought experiment. Now, if you decide to move forward with this, it means that you're gonna see things that you can't unsee. Like a realistic sneak peek on your own future. And this might really give you a reality check. What you're about to see could be good, but it could also be ugly. So I just wanna warn you, proceed with your own caution. But let's get into it. Now, we've all heard it before. Do what you love, and you won't ever have to work a day in your life. That is horrible advice. For most people, it turns out like this. Do what you love and you'll stop loving what you do. Here's why. Your number one passion isn't always a realistic career. You see, majority of the times, it's not. Most people, when they try to follow what they love, they get a job that barely pays them enough to cover the bills. So they end up in a constant state of financial struggle. And it doesn't matter how much you love what you do, there's always gonna be parts of it that are gonna suck. So if you combine the financial struggle with doing things that suck over a long enough period of time, you will start resenting your career choice until it gets to a point where you don't even love the very thing you used to love anymore. And now you're stuck working with something you don't love and that pays you poorly. And that's where 90% of people are at. And what you gotta understand is this: you shouldn't care about your passion. Whatever you're thinking about doing in life, or you already do, the only thing you should ask yourself is this: does it generate practical real life results? That's the only thing that matters. Every single successful person out there, they achieved success not because they followed their passion, but because they chose something that was practical, something that generated real life results. If you don't believe me, just look back in history. Men built castles, entire cities, boats that were capable of crossing the ocean. We built pyramids. Well, everyone has their different opinions on that, but we built pyramids and structures that stand the test of time and thousands of years. They didn't do that because building castles or boats or cities, it was their passion. They did it because it was necessary to accomplish whatever real life results that they were trying to accomplish. We are built to solve real life challenges. And by the way, if you take this to the business world, it's the exact same thing. I didn't start a marketing agency because running Facebook ads was my passion. In fact, having a marketing agency is a very boring type of business when looking at it from the outside. I started a marketing agency as a means to solve a challenge I had, which was to make money to provide for me and my mother. It was a practical solution to generate the results that I needed. And I got successful with it. And in the process of achieving success, I developed a passion for marketing and business. Because as a man, you fall in love with the process of becoming successful and the vehicle that takes you there. Now, if you don't know what the practical thing to do is for you and your situation, or if you're not sure if you're following the right path currently, here is how you find out. And here's where we get into our thought experiment that I mentioned earlier. First, you must become aware of what you don't want in life. Think about it. Do you want to work a miserable job? Do you want to be in a constant state of a struggle for money? Do you want to have to ask others to do the things that you want? Think about all of these possible scenarios that you don't want to experience and write them all down. No, I'm being serious, actually write them all down. And next, I want you to think about where you will end up if you continue on your current path. As I said, to do this, take some time to reflect on your current situation and your current choices and behaviors. Now write down on a piece of paper, as I said, actually write this down, where you're gonna end up in 5 years if you keep doing the things that you're doing right now. And if you don't know the answer to that, just observe the masses. See where mindless action leads them. Really pay attention to their choices, to their behaviors, and think about what the consequences of those actions are. Where did that take them? And based on that, I want you to do something. And this is actually the opposite of setting goals. This is far more powerful than that. I want you to develop a negative vision of your future. That is a page describing in detail what's going to happen with your life in 5 years if you keep going down the path that you're currently going down. And I want you to really, really visualize what that outcome looks like. And then I want you to ask yourself, do you want to be in such place in 5 years? And that is going to be your negative vision of your future. And that's what I told you when I said that this thought experiment would make you see things that you can't unsee. Because now you know exactly where life is going to take you if you don't change your current trajectory. And you got to understand that you either take action to change that future now, or that is exactly where you're going to end up at. And the only way to achieve success is to take extreme responsibility over your life situation, the actions you take, and where you end up as a result of such actions. Because things are only going to change for you when you decide that it's time to grow up and take responsibility for your situation. Now, successful people take responsibility for their actions and the result of such actions. Unsuccessful people act like children who never grew up and never learned to step up. If you keep hiding and simply letting life happen to you by letting the ones around you decide the path you're taking in life, transferring your responsibility to others, you will never change your trajectory. And thus, you'll never be successful. Now let's get to the third raw truth, because now you have your negative future vision. You know exactly where you don't want to end up at, and you know that the only way not to end up there is by taking action now and changing the route you're going down. So, here's the very first thing you need to change if you want to be successful. And this brings us on to raw truth number 3, which is, if you don't go fast, you'll fail. You need to understand that when you're first starting out, a lot of things are going to go wrong. And your best weapon against things going wrong is speed. You see, there's really only one way for you to improve your life, and it's trying out something new and experiencing the result of it. Now, this new thing you tried might work or it might not work. Whatever the outcome is, you're gonna learn. And as a result, you either got better or you learned what not to do next time. But the important thing for you to understand is the faster you go through these optimization cycles, the faster that your income will grow. If one person tests 5 new things in a certain time frame and another person tests 20 new things during the exact same time frame, guess what? The person who tested 20 new things wins every single time, even if every single thing the first person tested works out as expected, because the number of iterations that the second person went through is just so much greater. And it's that simple. And that is why speed of implementation is one of the key traits of successful individuals. They are fast executors. I mean, just look at Elon. What was the first thing he did when he took over Twitter? He looked at how often new updates were being pushed. And then he looked at who were the people who were contributing to getting these updates pushed. You're not contributing? Cool, fired. And then after firing over 80% of the company, what did he focus on next? Getting new updates, pushing updates 10 times more often. Why? Because he understands that makes or breaks a company. Speed. You got to be able to do things quickly. You're trying to learn how to become a millionaire yourself, or maybe you're just trying to learn how to start a business or how to improve financially. Whatever it is, you need to understand this. The quicker you start implementing, the quicker you start making money. So if you can cut your learning curve, that is always going to pay dividends, because the longer it takes to get something done, the less money it is going to make. If it takes you 3 months to get started with something and someone else starts the exact same thing in 1 month, that person is going to make more money. Why? Because of something called opportunity cost. I mean, first, they're going to be making money during those 2 extra months that you aren't producing anything. So that money is lost, gone. And second, and most importantly, during those 2 months, they will go through so many of these improvement cycles that I just mentioned earlier that you simply won't ever be able to catch up with them, because they have the advantage of speed. So whatever you are trying to learn or do, it is your duty to figure out how you can learn and implement it as fast as humanly possible. You either do it fast or you fail. Now, raw truth number 4 is you don't need to start a massive business. You know, it's quite funny. Whenever I'm talking to people that work in my companies, I often mention this concept of pendulums and pendulum swings. It's talked about quite often in one of my favorite books. But what I'm talking about here specifically is the natural behavior of the public perception towards one specific topic and how it shifts between 2 polar opposites over time. I mean, you can take a look at crypto, for example. Everyone used to judge those who invested in crypto a few years ago. Investment experts will be put in the same category as sports betting and wouldn't even call it an investment. Then, eventually, everyone was advocating for it, and it got to a point where even the most conservative hedge funds started to promote the idea that having a portion of your portfolio allocated into it was a smart move. Then all of a sudden, everyone back to the Bitcoin is the same as betting, it's not a real asset class, blah 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 blah, all this. And now we're currently in the process of going back to everyone saying it's the best investment asset there is. The point is, the public perception is like a pendulum that swings back and forth between 2 polar opposites. It's something you need to understand about business, and it's something you need to understand about human psychology. And usually when it's skewed way too much on one side, your best move is to move the opposite direction. And I see the exact same thing happening with the topic of starting a business today. You see, only a few years ago, starting a business was considered a risky move, and people would really think it through before giving a shot at starting a business. And then it became a cool thing to start a business. It became a trend. And now we've gone so far out on that end of the pendulum that if you go online on any YouTube channel talking about success, finances, etc., it has become pretty much a given that you must start $1 million business to become successful. I mean, everyone has just accepted that fact, and I don't even need to convince you on why starting $1 million business is the only way to go, because you already believe that. The current public perception is to believe that by default. And that, my friend, is when you know the pendulum has swung too far out on one way. And that is also when you should be moving in the opposite direction. Because the reality is, and I know it's going to be so crazy to hear this from me, you don't need that. As I already mentioned at the beginning of this video, you not only don't need to start a $1 million business, but also if you try to start one at your current stage, you'll most likely fail. And that's why this common belief that you probably share yourself has created a generation of failing individuals. Everyone is failing at creating $1 million business because they shouldn't be creating one in the first place. That's not how I made my first 1,000. That's not how I made my first 10,000. What you need instead at your current stage is what I call a minimum viable business. That is a very, very simple business that's easy to learn, easy to implement, and doesn't require you to invest any money or hire anyone to get started. It's something that you can do by yourself and is so simple that it's almost impossible not to make your first $1,000 with it. Now, let me give you an example of a minimum viable business. Going out into your neighborhood and asking local businesses to take better pictures of their Google listings. You know when you're on Google and you're trying to search for a restaurant or like local restaurants around and it shows pictures of the location? Yeah, well, majority of these businesses have terrible pictures there. So you just go out there asking every single business you see in your neighborhood to take better pictures for them with your phone for $50 or $100. I mean, phones are so good these days that you can touch it up and make it look amazing. Or maybe you borrow one of your friend's cameras, or maybe you have a camera lying around. But listen, to justify their investment, you just explain to them that every single week, there are dozens, if not hundreds of people who search for their store online, and they give up on the idea of ever visiting them because their pictures don't look good enough. So just by having better pictures, you can double the amount of people coming from the internet because they're already searching for your brand or already searching for your type of business already. And it is as simple as that. Do you see how it's almost impossible not to make your first $1,000 with that? And that is what I call a minimum viable business. Now, the example that I just told you, that's obviously not the most efficient one to start, but there are hundreds of minimum viable businesses to start out there. Now, my favorite ones at the moment are viral organic e-commerce using free traffic, appointment setting, or AI copywriting. just because those are the ones that pay the highest figures for the least amount of input. Now, here's where you have two options and a decision to take. Now, at this point, you already understand the concept of timing and how to choose the right business for your career timing. You already have your negative future vision, and you understand where you do and don't want to end up at. You understand the importance of speed of implementation, and you know that the best way to start from zero is with a minimum viable business. So you basically have two options. It's basically the slow way and the fast way. And the first option is to keep learning for free from YouTube. And you basically just have to accept the fact that you are throwing speed of implementation out of the window because learning from free content on the internet is simply extremely inefficient and slow. I mean, ask yourself, how well has that been working out for you so far? If you're watching this video, I mean, no disrespect, but probably not too well. Now, your second option is to have speed of implementation. If you want to have access to the right step-by-step training that shows you the best minimum viable businesses to start and make your first $1,000 with no fluff, this is what we give you inside of my online platform, Digital Launchpad. Inside Digital Launchpad, we teach you e-commerce, we teach you AI copywriting, we teach you appointment setting, sales, and every 2 to 3 months, we add new programs with new money-making methods that match the current market timing with your career timing so that you can succeed. All taught by people who have made millions with these methods. This way, you don't have to waste time trying to find the right content amongst dozens of hours of useless information online, and you can just implement what is taught as fast as possible. With this, getting to your first $1,000 with any of these methods stops becoming a matter of luck and becomes a matter of just following the steps laid down in each program. And you can get access to all of that for less than $100. Each one of these money-making methods you get inside usually sells for $1,500 each as separate courses. And what I did here inside of Digital Launchpad is I brought them all together so you can get each one of them for only $100 a month. Now, this is the first time that I'm publicly launching this, and I want to give you an extra incentive to make this the most no-brainer decision you've ever taken. So, when you join today, you are not going to be paying the full $100. In fact, you're not even going to be paying half of that. As a gift for watching this entire video, which very few people actually bothered to stick around, you are going to get access to Digital Launchpad for only $37 a month. And that is going to be your price for as long as you stay paying the monthly subscription. It will never go up for you, even in future months and years as we increase the price for the public. Now listen, I don't know how long this is going to stay up for, but it's definitely coming down very soon. I'm sure you can see why for only $37 a month, this is too good. I have to increase the price soon. Now, as I said, it could be tomorrow, it could be next week, or it could be in a month. But if you check the subscription page that's linked in the first pinned comment below this video, and the price on that page still says $37, it means that this promotion is still live. Now, I want to make this as affordable as possible, just so you have literally no risk when joining this. Listen, if you can't put $37 together today to get this level of education and training from the best mentors in the world, the best educators in the world, I really don't know what else I can do. I spent years and years putting this all together for you guys for so cheap to try to make this accessible to everyone. But if you're not a place to sacrifice one Friday dinner or one trip to the cinema to change your entire life, as I said, I'll be honest, I don't really know what else I can do for you. Now, I also forgot to mention, I built a leveling system inside of Digital Launchpad. So you start as an apprentice, and then you level up to a craftsman, then a diplomat, then a lord, a prince, and then finally a king, and eventually an emperor. And as you level up, you unlock exclusive rewards that includes extra and early content, coaching calls, access to my network, live monthly calls with me, and even real-life meetups with me and other members. And the leveling is based on how long you've been inside Digital Launchpad, and you can see the entire leveling system and what rewards you get as a level on the official Digital Launchpad page in the link below. So with all that being said, you can join using the link in the pinned comment. But let's get back to the video and let's get back to our last raw truth. Now, raw truth number 5, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was actually thinking whether I should include this or not, because I think there's some people who maybe won't identify with it and it won't be relatable to them. And it might even scare off some people, but I promised you that I was gonna keep this real. So I'm gonna keep it real. And even if it helps just 10% of you, that's already worth it. So here's the 5th raw truth. Struggle is not an impediment to success. It's a requirement. After working with dozens of thousands of students, I've noticed a few common trends. And the one that always calls my attention the most is in regards to personal struggle. Why? Because at the end of the day, we all struggle. We all go through situations that we wish we didn't have to experience. Some to different extent than others, for sure. Now, you might struggle with your family not understanding the path you want to follow and not supporting your decisions. You might struggle financially, not having enough to cover basic needs, which is definitely an incredibly tough situation to be in. Or you might struggle with love or with your partner. You might be going through a hard breakup with a loved one. Whatever it is, we all suffer. And what I notice is the way you react to your struggle can either make you or break you. I noticed that there's a lot of people who get so caught up with their struggles that they use that as an excuse to not believe in themselves and count themselves out before even trying. The struggle got them to a point where they don't even believe in themselves anymore. And on the other hand, there's people who go through the same struggles and use that as fuel towards their success. They work twice as hard because they know that's the only way out of their suffering. The point here is, there's not a single successful person that hasn't suffered and gone through their own personal struggles, which means that the struggle is not something that's in your way, stopping you from getting to success. The struggle is part of the way. It is a requirement to get to success, because it's only through the struggle that you're gonna build the stress tolerance and the endurance that's needed to get to success. By suffering, you have created the building blocks that you need to achieve success. The struggle is required. And if you're currently going through a struggle, just know that this is an essential part of the journey to success. So I wanted to end off this video by saying that if you're currently struggling or have struggled before, just know that we already have something in common. You're not alone. And I was there too. And a lot of us are currently there. And that is what made me the successful man that I am today. And that is what's going to create your own successful version as well, if you use the struggle to your advantage. And with that being said, as always, I'm here for you, I'm rooting for you, and I'm watching from afar.